It's Sunday, and I'm actually here. And I'm just wondering, how did last week go?
Who are you asking? The viewers or the rest of us?
Both.
Yeah, let's the viewers answer that one. I think it was okay.
Answers on a postcard.
But since you guys didn't manage to give away against a beautiful CW key last week, I put a ticker down below. Enter hashtag CW key exactly as it's spelled in the chat, and you can participate in the drawing if you're present at the end. And
that's very nice.
I actually listened to the stream though. You guys did good.
How was the match? You went to watch football instead of being with us.
5-0 against Kazakhstan. So I mean, it wasn't really good. I mean, Norway should win nonetheless. It was fun though. But let's see. I'm kind of rusty after being away for a week, but let's start with the ham radio moment of the week. And since we have Mark here, and you're going to talk about the Open Headset Interconnect Standard, or OHIS, later on. But what's your ham radio moment of the week, Mark?
My ham radio moment of the week is I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out here. I have been working with KV4P, a guy named Vance, who has designed this little circuit board with a ESP32 and a DRA818 module that you glue onto the backside of a Android phone with a short little USB jumper between this module and the phone, and it turns your Android phone into an HT. A low power VHF HT. So KV4P-HT is what you want to Google for, search for to try and find it. I looked at his hardware and I started giggling. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding. And no offense to him. He's a software guy. Vance is a software guy. He's not a hardware guy. And so I went in there and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be a seagull where I just fly in, scream all over the place, poop everywhere, and then leave without actually providing any value. So I decided to take my comments, all of my feedback on his board design, and apply it myself. And so I am currently working on the version 2 of the KV4P hardware design. And these are the first prototypes of the version 2. Will I be selling boards directly from Halibut? Yes, I will, which is how I am justifying spending my quote-unquote work time on this open source product. And so these will become available on Halibut Electronics. These will be the V2 boards. They're still open source, so it's not just Halibut Electronics. You'll be able to get them elsewhere. You can download the files and have them fabbed yourself as well. But my hope is that I can buy them in a large enough quantity to bring the prices down and sell them for a price that makes sense for me to still make a profit, but for people who want the product more than the project to be able to just throw some amount of money, I haven't figured out what that's going to be yet, at me, and I'll mail off a board to them.
Awesome.
Very good. So you get the GABA spec to the author, and he can also put it on his website, I guess, or something like that, right?
Actually, yeah, it's already pushed up to the GitHub. So the GitHub Van. Say again?
Fantastic, I said.
Yeah, sorry. I heard my mistake, and I'm like, no. Okay. Anyway, yes, the Gerber files are already there for this. Actually, all of the KiCad source files, not just the Gerbers. But all of the files, all of the files are up on the GitHub for the version 2. I don't recommend you order it yet because I do have a few minor changes that I'm going to be making on it before it's quote-unquote released. Thank you. Yes, that's the link to it. Vance Vagel, V-A-G-E-L-L is his name. And Jeff asked, is the improvement in the RF filtering? I will be improving the RF filtering. The filtering from version 1.7 wasn't too bad. It could have been made a lot better. The filter that I have on here right now works well from a filter perspective, but it has a pretty high insertion loss. So it's about 1.5 dB worth of insertion loss, and I think I can improve that. So I am going to be, actually I've already started redesigning that filter and selecting new components. The physical layout of the filter is exactly the same, so no changes to the board. It's just going to be swapping out different components. But I hope to still have 40 dB of first harmonic attenuation, but probably closer to 0.5 dB of insertion loss is my goal.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Seeing as you're working on this, when can we expect a version for those of us lucky enough to use an iPhone?
You know what? So I don't know. First off, Vance is not an iPhone developer. He is an Android developer, so it's going to have to be someone else who takes the same device. iOS in general, both iPhone and iPad, does not give an API for a serial port on the USB or on the Lightning port, because Lightning's just USB under the hood. So you cannot connect to it through here and get a serial port. However, these modules also have Bluetooth. I don't think you can do Bluetooth serial either. So I think it has to be some other API that would have to be implemented between the Bluetooth here and the iPhone. You might be able to get away using MIDI as you
were saying Bluetooth serial. Have you seen the BB Link product to get iPhones working with the THD75?
I have not.
No, that's a small device that you plug into anything power, any USB-C port to power it, but easiest to just stick it in the iPhone. But it doesn't communicate over USB. It communicates over Bluetooth, and it translates from a Bluetooth for low energy to normal old-fashioned Bluetooth for the radio. Seeing as that radio is only about $1,000 US, they didn't have the money to implement Bluetooth low energy. So
keeping costs down.
Sense. Yeah, but it's the thing is, it's possible, and that's made with an ESP32 board that does the hard work there. So that should be absolutely possible.
Cool. So good idea, Bob. You're in charge. When should we expect the pull request?
At some point, that had to come back to you, Bob.
Yeah. I'll learn to shut up.
That is the key words of any open source project manager out there.
I love your suggestion. When can I get your contribution? I'll merge it straight away.
Yep. Great idea. You're in charge. When's the pull request coming?
Yep. In my day job, I use the phrase "nicely volunteered" a lot.
Nicely volunteered. Yep.
Yeah. I guess that's it's coming back to bite me now. Finally.
That's not a bad ham radio moment of the week, though, Mark.
Thank you.
So turn a little bit more into what's on your workbench, but I guess that's for another show.
Yeah, I got to be careful because I don't operate a lot on ham radio, and it's made even worse right now because I have sold my Flex 6400 to a friend, but I don't have my 8400 to replace it yet. So I am sans HF radio right now. I do not have an HF radio in my shack right now.
That's not good. You should have. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if you knew someone over at Flex?
I know. I know several someones over at Flex. And actually, this is public knowledge now. If you buy a previously loved refurbished Flex radio from Flex Radio, that got weird, they will throw in a Halakey, a Halibut branded Halakey with it. So they bought a whole bunch of Halakeys from me and are including them in every sale of a refurbished Flex radio. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's nice.
That is awesome. Yeah. Tobias, what's your ham radio moment of the week?
1 second. I'm just typing in the chat. I'm terrible. Yeah, Now I did the important. My ham radio moment was basically doing a live stream of refurbishing that Kenwood that I got. Oh, yeah. So you didn't want to buy it, Bob, so I bought it.
I wanted to buy it. You bought it before me.
Well, I sent you the link. Nothing happened, so I got it in the end, right?
All right.
So anyway, there was a 2 hour or I'm not even sure how long. Live stream where I took it apart and cleaned it up and reassembled it, and it seems to be fine. I'm missing the plastic cover here on the side, and the keypad is a bit dinged, and the antenna, somebody had a go. I think it's the original antenna, but somebody had a go with a knife, probably to fit it some other handset, so it looks really a bit nasty here.
That could have been an axe.
Could have been, yeah. I'm not sure. It was probably not here till. But yeah, it seems to be working fine. So I'm happy. I have one working Kenwood, the TEHRS is still looking a bit disgusting, and the LCD is not working. But I found a very nice video on YouTube. Somebody managed to completely replace the LCD with a small OLED display. So he machined a custom PCB with a little microcontroller to translate from whatever the Kenwood radio sends out to the little OLED display. So I was asking, hey, will you release that? But I didn't. But it really looked cool. Yeah, you should. I will dig out that video and post it in the chat.
Post it in the Discord.
Yeah.
And the Discord is hamshow.eu/Discord if you're not on the Discord. And we're the friendliest Discord out there. We've never moderated. We've never had the use to moderate. It's probably the better way of putting it.
I think we had one person getting fed up with us and leaving, but we didn't have to moderate.
He self-moderated before I managed to do it.
Yeah, self-moderated. That's right.
Claiming that you haven't moderated is not generally compatible with the nicest place on the internet. Just saying.
Very good point. Very good.
That's why I corrected to we've never had the need to moderate.
Never had to moderate. That's true. Yeah.
But that radio looks awesome, Tobias, and I saw part of your stream, and I got to give it to you. You're German with the thoroughness of cleaning that thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you do it properly. That's my saying. Yeah, and if you don't do it, you don't do it. Yeah, just
awesome.
I think I have to rephrase that. If it's worth doing, do it properly. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Kjetil, what's your moment of the week?
Yeah, two moments actually. I did a SOTA yesterday, which was really nice. And 100 watts out works really well. So I shortened the cable to the FT891. So it actually delivers 100 watt with that new battery I bought and operated for half an hour. Still no voltage drop on it. So really happy with that. On the way down the hill you see behind me here, I fell straightforward over. So I fell like 120 degrees and landed at my hands and managed to get myself into the emergency room to get a checkup. So that was fun. It could have gone so much worse. So hiking can be dangerous. And this is a place I think I've activated like 20 times. So I should know better than to fall. But who cares?
But it just proves this point, though, that it doesn't really matter how experienced you are if you're not prepared, though. And do think safety when you're operating portable.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is it's a few meters of this hill, which is really scary. It's muddy, it's icy. It's usually a combination of ice and mud, which it was yesterday. So it can be really scary, and it's proper downhill. So be careful when you're out activating. It could easily be a broken arm or leg or ankle or whatever. So
which summit was this, Kjetil?
RL102, the absolute simplest one, Rossåsen, which is 200 meters to hike and 50 elevation meters.
I think I've been there. Is that the one with the lost bunker on it?
No.
No, all right. Yeah, I'll look it up. Yep.
Yeah, it's really simple.
So more importantly, are you okay or anything that needs mending?
Nothing broken, nothing that painkillers can't fix in time.
Okay. And
it's just about getting older and not surviving very much. If I was 20, this would not be an issue at all. But today I went out with a colleague. He has a sailboat and he has a marine Kenwood radio. So I think it's a it's a M802. It's either Marie, Kenwood or ICOM. I don't remember. In any case, it's really fun. We set up Paktur WinLink on his radio, which I've never done before. It didn't work because the antenna didn't work, but that's something else. Got communication working at least. So that was an interesting challenge. So,
yeah, I guess so. And being in a boat, you need to make sure that there is no water ingress anywhere either.
yes, and he showed me some fun stuff. For example, how to download the GRIB files, which are weather files, and how they can be loaded into a map to actually view weather data while you're out sailing, which is, of course, kind of important. Like that's a proper use for WinLink, just not just fun.
I see another WinLink video coming at some point, Kjetil.
No, not likely. It's not a big difference. It's just a different modem thing. Other than that, it's just working. But yeah, that was fun. Lots of other things happened, but for another week.
Yeah, not bad at all. Bob, how have you been this week?
I've been fine. I have I'm really busy at work still, and my son has a lot of homework and things to do, and he started working out, and basically there's not an awful lot of time for radio. But I think my ham radio moment, I've already created a video. Because last week we had Jørgen on, and he did not get the memo not to show me new and shiny things. So, he
what
showed
did
us
you buy?
Of course, I bought the Rig Expert Stick 500, and that thing I ordered it while. If you notice, if you watch last week's show, you will notice I zone out for about 5 minutes. That's trying to order this thing while we were streaming, and I got that thing after 36 hours. That was ordered from Slovenia, and I got it delivered in Norway in 36 hours. I thought that was just amazing. So I had to
local warehouse or what? How did that
happen?
No.
It actually followed I followed it in the transport, and it went all the way from Slovenia to Norway. And it was TNT, which is a FedEx company. So that normally doesn't work so well where I live, but this time, fantastic.
Just be happy that it didn't come through UPS.
UPS works gangbusters where I live, so I'd take UPS any day. That's not a problem at all.
So, Rig Expert, I know they are designed in the Ukraine. Have they halted production in Ukraine and moved that out to Slovenia for now?
No, there was just a really good sale in Slovenia, so I think they're still made there. And I've
from a retailer in Slovenia.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And I've been told not to say the Ukraine. That's offensive. I've been told by our host here. He can explain why.
Did I use the?
Yeah.
Did I? No. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
No, I know that. I know better. And if I slipped up, I apologize.
Yeah. I do not. I didn't know better, but I know now. I've been corrected. But anyway, that was sort of the highlight of my week, getting that thing in just 36 hours, and it is so small, and with the e-ink display on it, and I'm looking so much forward to connecting that up to my phone and just leaving it at the feed point of the antenna and just walking around with my phone and adjusting everything till it's perfect. That's going to be so nice. And it's packable. I can bring this to summits, and none of my other analyzers make any sense to bring to a summit. So there's that. And I'm also working on a FreeCAD design for all the parts of a Moxon antenna for 70 SEMS for using for LoRa APRS. So I'm learning a lot of things about FreeCAD and antenna modeling, and I basically want to try to do everything in FreeCAD and just have everything I need exported from there, or at least copy pastable into let's say MMANA it's called, or 4NEC2 or whatever you want to use to analyze it. I want all the dimensions to come from that FreeCAD design, so you can analyze your antenna, and it's parametric. So I'm spending time on that, doing geometry for the first time since I left school. That's interesting to say the least. And I also used ChatGPT to help me solve equations. And I did that, I think, 10 times, and one of the times it actually worked. So
wow!
Yeah.
How many different answers did you get?
Well, 12. I just got one answer. No. I got one answer to each question, and one of these answers.
Even a stop clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, it is. So
But that's not bad though, Bob.
I'm happy with that.
Did you learn from the mistake when Tobias snatched that radio from you that you need to order things immediately?
Come on, don't get started, you two.
You do. Bob,
So
did you hear that you were able to get the free CW key if you bought some certain radio, right?
No, but I have a bloody nice CW key. I just need to learn CW. I don't need more keys.
So Bob,
So,
that Kenwood radio that you guys were talking about that you held up, I think I have one of those that I inherited from my father that I don't use. Should I be shipping to Norway? I have your address because somebody on this show has purchased eggnogs from me and did a really great YouTube video on the assembly of eggnogs.
Thank you so much. That's I also ordered the kit form of the balance checker or the choke checker.
Oh, common mode current choke tester. Tester.
That one. So that's still in its plastic bag, and looking forward to building that and maybe even creating an enclosure for it, because I think that thing deserves a nice 3D printed enclosure.
Check out. I think I have it linked to from the webpage now. There has been people have designed an enclosure where all of the ports are facing up. And then it's got like a U shape, almost like a gallows shaped thing that you slide through the center of your choke, so it kind of holds it suspended in air, and then the cables can come down. It's this really cool design. I think it was either posted to the groups.io or it was in Discord. I can't remember which, but I think I have it linked to on the documentation page on Halibut Electronics now.
I'll have a look, and if I can't find it, I'll just send you an email. And
sounds good. Yeah.
Excellent. Yep. That was many words to describe my very short ham radio week. So, Morten, how about your week?
I've had 2 weeks to pick from now, and let's start with my Saigu G106, which still isn't here. But I got a notification on Monday that I had a package waiting for me at a pickup point. So I went there to a local gas station, and I am sure that the girl behind the counter saw my disappointment when she came with a really tiny Amazon envelope. Because sometimes it happens that you order stuff on Amazon and you forget about it. And
no.
So let's find the right cam here. I think this is the right cam. So what I got was this little SWR meter, which is practical since the G106 apparently does not have a SWR meter. I don't know that yet because I don't have the radio yet after 4 weeks. But I guess it's going to come to use at some point. But besides that, I've been playing with a couple of gadgets. I've been playing with the True SDX. And man, that's a cool little radio. It's just really capable for what it is, and it's still the Baofeng of HF radios. But it's a fun
that good
little
huh?
radio, and I actually managed to do a Parks on the Air activation with it. So I really like this little thing.
Did you use the Spectrum display feature that it has?
It has a Spectrum display feature. It's not really usable. But it's there.
But it's a miracle that you could implement one with that microcontroller.
I got it right here. Except that you can't really do anything else with the radio while showing the Spectrum display because it takes all of the capacity of the microcontroller in here.
But calling that thing the Baofeng or the HD, it's not really. The HF radio. It's not really fair. It is actually a decent radio.
It is a decent radio, and it's impressive what they can do with such little power and actually such a small design. I'm going to dive deeper into this. I just, as the rest of you guys, I don't have enough time to play radio at the moment. And then I've been testing this little thingy out, the AT100M, because I hope there's something better within the Chinese cheap tuner range than the ATU 100. So my initial
open
test,
it up, make a photo. Maybe it's the same PCB or not.
I've seen inside. It's not the same PCB, but it's it's a related design. Let's put it this way. But it's fixed a couple of the issues though. First of all, it has latching relays, so it makes it a lot less power hungry. And then it can actually tune from a QRP rig, which was why I got it, because I discovered this summer while out with the 705 that I was testing that the ATU 100 is useless when all you bring to a park is a Rubikoff and a 705. So tested this little thing out today and seems to be working fine. There is a video coming at some point when I finish it about this.
Do you know anything about the tuning range of that particular one?
There's nothing about it in the documentation, but it managed to tune my Rubikoff on every band it's supposed to work on. That's the test I've done so far.
But even the tuner in the 7300 would tune that, so it doesn't really say much, does it?
It doesn't really say much. No, not at all.
No.
I'm gonna try it with a long wire or something that's a little bit more complicated, just to get a feel on it. But again, there's the aspect of time, and a Rubikoff was just easier today.
Yeah.
Does it handle 100 watts nicely?
Yep, it does.
Oh, cool.
So
Is there a schematic available for those somewhere, or are they commercial products and they don't do that?
the ATU 100 is an open source design.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the problem with those you buy from China is that it doesn't look like everyone is assembled by someone who actually knows electronics.
Or RF electronics specifically, yeah.
I am on my third one at the moment. The first one was, well, halfway decent, except, well, at least when I found all the loose screws inside it. The second one didn't like RF that much, so if it detected some RF, it just stopped working.
Yeesh.
Which is kind of not the way a tuner is supposed to work. I'm on my third one now, and I bought that used from another ham that told me that it worked fine. So, but I'm looking for something a little bit less power hungry. And another thing with this one is that it charges via USB-C. And it actually shows the state of charge on the battery, which is also a good thing, because with the ATU 100, you never know when you're going to run out of battery.
You need to open it, shows the inside when you do the video, because if I get that one, I wanted to replace the connectors with the BNC.
I can open it up, but not on that video. That video is almost completely edited and to the form factor and labeling that the sponsor requires.
All right.
But enough about the ham radio moment of the week. Mark, you're here to talk about the Open Headset Interconnect Standard. Indeed. We're really looking forward to hearing about that.
All right. Well, the general elevator pitch for OHIS is this. Let's say you go out and you buy yourself a wonderful headset, something like a Heil Pro Set 7 or a Radio Sport or something along those lines. And you get this and it's got some plugs on the end of it. You can't just take those plugs and plug them into any old radio, right? You need to get an adapter that goes from that headset to that radio. If you buy another radio, you need to get another adapter that goes from that headset to that radio. If you buy another headset, now you need to buy two new adapters to go from this headset to this radio and this headset to this radio, right? And so you have this full mesh of adapters where each adapter is unique to the pairing of headset to radio. And that gets kind of cumbersome. In a home shack, that's not that big of a deal, but at a multi-user environment like an EOC or a club shack or a field day event, you know, I've got my headset and it's already got my ear goobers in it. And so I want to come into an event and bring my own headset, not wear your headset that's got your ear goobers in it. And I want to be able to just sit down and plug into any of the devices that are at that event, whether it's an EOC, you don't know which station you're going to be stationed at, contest station where you might want to move from 20 meters to 40 meters or whatever. You know, you want to be able to move around and take your headset with you to whatever station is there. And so the way I want to solve this is by defining a standard interface, right? And I have defined one, and it's called OHIS, Open Headset Interconnect Standard. So it is an open standard that defines the headset interface. Right. And I put headset in quotes here. It really can be any sort of a microphone signal and a receive audio signal, by default headphones, but you can amplify that out into a speaker or whatever you want to do. And a PTT, or the kind of the three signals that it really concerns itself with: microphone, headphone, and PTT. And that can be any microphone, any headphone, or any PTT. But once you have that standard interface defined, in an ideal world, asterisk, in an ideal world, all the headset manufacturers would build their headsets to the standard interface, and all the radio manufacturers would build in a OHIS compliant socket in their radios. And now I'd be able to take any headset and plug it into any radio. Bob's our uncle. We're ready to go. I realize that it's going to be a long time before we are able to get all of the radio manufacturers on board with this, if ever, right? I'm an optimist. I believe we'll get there someday. I have been chatting with some of them. The general response I get, I describe as optimistic skepticism, which is, that's a great idea. It'll never happen. That's a very common response I get, even from the equipment manufacturers. But I have had several of the equipment manufacturers going, I really do like that idea. I'm not going to be the only one to implement this standard. And so if you can get all of the big equipment manufacturers into a room and agree that this is a good thing to do, that we will all implement it, then yes, we will implement it. So they just don't want to be the only one to implement this new standard that now they have to carry on forward and nobody else is using, and we don't actually get the benefits of the fact that it's a standard. I understand that. So anyway, in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to build adapters. Okay, great. How are the adapters I'm talking about better than the adapters we already have? What I want to do is I want to take that one adapter that is unique to the pairing of headset to radio, and I'm going to split it into two halves. And I've got one adapter now for my headset that is unique to just the headset, regardless of what radio you plug it into. And that converts whatever that headset has into the standard interface. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to take the other half of the adapter that is unique to the radio, regardless of what headset plugs into it, and it connects into that radio and adapts that to a standard interface. So it is one adapter for every radio and one adapter for every headset. And that's all you need. And when you add another radio to your setup, you only need to buy one more adapter for that radio. Buy or build. It's an open standard. You can build it yourself. Buy or build one adapter that converts from that particular radio to the standard, and it will automatically work with everything else in your system. So now, once all of my headsets have a standard interface and all of my radios have a standard interface, I can connect any headset into any radio. So by taking that one adapter that had to take into account both sides of that connection and splitting it into two, so now it's just an adapter for the headset with a standard interface and just an adapter for that radio with a standard interface. Now any of these headsets can talk to any of these radios. That is the very long elevator ride, elevator pitch for OHIS. Any questions on that?
So what kind of physical connector have you chosen for this? Is it RJ something? Or
yes. So the standard itself. Okay, now we're going to get technical and nerdy.
Yes.
Technical and nerdy. The standard interface is defined as an electret microphone signal, a headphone receive signal, and a contact closure to ground for PTT. And then the standard also includes power back from the radio toward the headset in case anything along the line needs power. The physical connection, talk nerdy to me, I know, I love it, right? The physical connection standard is a RJ45 or an 8P8C modular. However, as long as you stick to the electrical standard, it's not difficult to convert from one physical standard to another.
Yeah,
And
but it's
so
another
the
adapter. We don't want that, right?
we don't want that, exactly. So the standards document is written as the standard interface is an RJ45. And if you need something more rugged, then we recommend this connector called EtherCon. Are you familiar with EtherCon?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Morton knows what this is.
I
It is.
I
the
think I'm
audio
the one that
engineer.
tipped you off about the EtherCon.
You might have been. Yeah, but it's an RJ45 plug inside an XLR shell.
Okay, I
Right.
just googled it. It looks very robust.
Yes, exactly. So it's as robust as as a XLR connector, an XL, the full size XLR, but it's got an RJ45 inside. So if you put a EtherCon socket on a device, you can either plug in an EtherCon cable or a standard RJ45 cable into it. They are physically compatible at that regard. Obviously, if you put a standard RJ45 cable into it, you're not getting the robustness of the physical connection, but it's at least backward compatible in that regard.
And the
Trying to remember where-
EtherCon, let's see, Tobias got an EtherCon up here. Let's see if
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
enlarge it here. But the EtherCon has been used in staged environments for a
Yeah.
long time, and the point is exactly as you say there, Mark. It's robust and it's solid, and you can in a pinch you can use a standard network cable as well.
Yeah.
But not
So-
even a pinch. You can, if you want to just cheap out, you can use
Yeah.
network cables till the RF interference gets you, and then you can upgrade to proper cables. Then.
So
Yeah,
Uh,
at some point, I just want to address Bob here. One moment, Mark. Because when you have about 40 people stepping around a stage, the last thing you want is that the single network cable going from the stage box to the mixer fails because someone decides to put a little bit of
Step on it.
physical force on the jack there, and that's why an EtherCon connection you can't break it off, basically.
yeah.
I've been doing rigging for basically the sound industry in a previous lifetime, so I know all about this. But I'm talking now about the ham radio usage.
Oh yeah.
You use
So
this for the Open Headset Interconnect, and you can start with Ethernet cables. You don't
Yes.
need to get anything expensive, and as long as that thing is in the device, you're golden. You can upgrade whenever you want. So,
Yeah. So the standard says RJ45, and if you want a ruggedized connector, we recommend the EtherCon. I have also, because a lot of DIY hams are going to want something rugged, but not want to pay for EtherCon or have to deal with rigging up an EtherCon cable, blah, blah, blah. So I have also defined a pinout of a DE9 shell that if you are going to use something else, let's at least agree on a pinout. And, like this is the third choice. This is not what I recommend, but if you need to go this way because of your requirements, let's at least all agree on what the pinout is for that. And so I included that in the standards document as well. I will point out that all of these connectors, the standard does call out shielded cables, shielded connectors and cables. So there's actually 4 grounds in an OHIS connection. There's the shield, there's the microphone ground, which is separate from everything else. There's the headphone ground, which is separate from everything else. And then there is the power ground. So which is shared by both VCC and PTT. So there's actually 4 different ground signals in there. The standard says that if you can keep them separate, great, because that keeps all of your return currents isolated from each other, and that is ideal. If you can't, then it has to be okay that they get shorted together. You lose some of the benefits of having isolated ground return paths, but you can't design a device and have it be standards compliant if shorting out any of those grounds causes problems, other than losing the benefits of having that ground. Like you can't have your microphone ground up at 2.5 volts or something like that, right? All the grounds have to be at ground potential.
Ground has to be ground. That's what you're saying.
Ground has to be ground, yes. Not just a return path. Thank you, James.
But practically, though, if let's say you're at home or at your club station and you want to get that OHIS compliant. How would the regular ham go about to do that?
Okay, so now I'm going to take off the standards compliance hat and standards advocacy hat, and I'm going to put on my commercial product hat. So Halibut Electronics does in fact sell OHIS adapters. I have both the headset side, which I call the User Pro, and the radio side, which I call the Radio Pro. And those are adapters that will work with just about any headset and just about any radio, and they can be configured and tweaked and adapted and whatnot to work with anything. And then they have a standard interface in the middle. Having said that, it's an open standard. And so if anybody wants to build their own adapters, I will help them do that. Even if that is, hey, I want to build an adapter that competes with Halibut Electronics. Great. Take commercial product hat off and put standards advocacy hat back on. I will help you do that. The standards advocacy hat takes precedence over the commercial hat in this case, because I really want the standard to take off. I want it to be accepted and adapted. So I will help people make their own adapters, whether it's just a DIY, I'm going to do it myself for my own shack, or whether I'm going to design a thing for my club and we're going to do a giant group build, or if it's I want to make a product that competes with you. Like all of those cases, I will help you design a standards compliant device. If you don't want to fuss with that, then just go to electronics.halibut.com and you can buy the adapters there.
Okay, one more dumb question, quick interruption.
Yeah.
I assume the microphone / headset side is the plug and the radio side is the socket, right?
So
in your standard.
In my adapters, both adapters have sockets. And then the standard cable is any shielded Ethernet cable. Is really what it boils down to.
Just the Ethernet cable in the middle. Yeah.
Correct. Now, the standard does say that the user side, so the headset side, can be either a socket or a plug, right? But the radio side must be a socket.
Okay.
All right. So you can make a cable that just goes directly from your headset and terminates in an RJ45, right? Presumably with a PTT button somewhere in the middle. But it terminates to an RJ45 plug, and so you just cable that straight into the device. That is acceptable. It's also acceptable to make an adapter with like a little pigtail sticking out of it if you want. Or you can make the user side adapter with a socket, and then the user would have to provide their own shielded Ethernet cable between the two endpoints. But it is not okay for the radio to terminate into a plug, because then you might be in a situation where you got two plugs, and providing a barrel, female to female barrel plug is less convenient than having a stock of Ethernet cables all over the place.
And Jeff's got a question here if the standard addresses adjustment of levels.
Yes, it does. So the OHIS standard specifies a microphone level, right? So going over the cable, the microphone level is electret level, which turns out to be, I don't remember the number, it's like minus 45 dBV or so. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's a relatively hot signal. And the radio side has to provide 5-volt bias voltage down that microphone line to power the electret microphone on the far side. And so if your headset is an electret microphone, great, wire it straight in, you're done. If your microphone is a dynamic microphone, then there are two things that need to happen with a dynamic microphone. Is one, you need to block that DC, because you don't want that DC going through your dynamic microphone element. You're going to burn a lot of heat and risk burning out your microphone element. It's bad, don't want it. And two, you need to amplify your dynamic microphone level up by about 10, 15, 20 dB, depending on how you count it. So so you've got the electret signal coming in, and you got a dynamic microphone here. Part of the standard is a circuit design, 5 components: 1 transistor, 1 capacitor, and 3 resistors. Pennies. And what it does is it uses that bias voltage coming in the microphone line to power a microphone preamp. And so it basically takes the dynamic microphone here, it blocks the DC, and in fact, it uses that DC to power a preamp that brings that dynamic microphone level up to electric microphone level. And so with these 5 components, it basically interfaces a dynamic mic on this side to a device expecting an electric mic on this side, which the standard is expecting an electric mic. So the standard actually addresses 2 different microphone types directly. The electric microphone, wire it straight in. Dynamic microphone, here are 5 components you can use to wire it straight in. The one common microphone element that is not supported is a carbon microphone, a true carbon microphone, which were used in old aviation headsets. And so if you have an aviation headset that's 20-ish years old or older, there's a chance that it has a real honest-to-goodness carbon microphone element. Those will not work with any of my adapters. You can make adapters that will work with that. I just haven't yet. The good news is that most modern aviation headsets are carbon equivalent, which means that it will work in the airplane, which is expecting a carbon element, but it's actually an electric microphone element. And at that point, you can just wire it straight into OHIS, and it works off or straight away. So the 3, okay, I'm going to go with 4 mic elements: real electric, real dynamic. We've already got those addressed. If you have an aviation headset, it either has a real carbon element, which will not work with my adapters, or a carbon equivalent, which is implemented as an electret. Actually, I think this was the electret. So the carbon equivalent is actually an electret, and it will work.
And just to add to the confusion, Mark, how about 48-volt fed condenser microphone?
Nope. My adapters don't do anything for that. So if you've got
you will need a
correct,
way
something to provide phantom power.
Phantom power.
Yeah. The good news is the levels on those are pretty close to electric levels. They are hotter than a dynamic mic. But I think the microphone level is pretty close to an electric because they're both electric microphones. Or excuse me, they're both condenser microphones.
Yeah. If you have already, was it 5 volt or 8 volts that you supplied on the standard?
So the microphone line needs to work with an electric microphone element. The easy way to do that is supply 5 volts through a 6.2 k ohm resistor. The real requirement is the electric microphone is going to be about a 2 volt drop, and you need to provide about a 0.5 milliamp through it. So like how you do current limiting resistors on an LED, you say the LED's got this forward voltage and I want this much current going through it. My supply is this, so I need the resistor to drop this much voltage at this current and blah, blah, blah. You do the same thing with an electric microphone. It's going to be a 2 volt element and you need to pass about a 0.5 milliamp through it. So whatever voltage you have, figure out the right resistor to put in series with it to make that work. In my designs, I use 5 volts as the source voltage, but really you can do anything, whatever you have. Yeah, that is the bias voltage on the microphone line. There is also a VCC signal, or a power source, which is supposed to be good for. Right now, I think it's written as 200 milliamps. I think I'm going to provide another standard option that's like 50 milliamps or something that's a lower power output. And that is 5 volts. That is defined as 5 volts.
You could probably put a boost converter on that to get the 48 volts for that.
Yes,
studio mic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it should absolutely be doable, I think.
Yeah. All of this is doable. The question is whether a circuit has been designed for it yet. And so when I say my adapters don't support that, what I mean is the things that I have designed do not have those features in them. Anyone is totally welcome to design their own version of these adapters to do these things, and I will help you do that.
Yeah, sounds good. I have headsets for ICOMs and Yaesu radios, and of course that means I have dynamic and electric microphones on them.
Yes.
I've been looking into creating things so that I can use them across radios. But when I try to design something, I end up looking at what the design should look like, and I start to try to figure out impedances for the mic and the headset connections, and I just come up empty. I have no idea what sort of impedances I should design this stage to have. Is there anything like that in the standard, or is this important? Can I just is it okay as long as the voltage levels are within range? Is that sufficient?
Yeah. It is. So impedance matching on microphones I don't think is nearly as important as most people think, because it's pretty rare. Oh, okay, let me rephrase. It matters more when you're doing a long distance transmission. If you are in a situation where you're likely to pick up noise, then yes, impedance matching matters, because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to maximize power transfer so that the noise you pick up along the line becomes a smaller portion of the total power on the receiving side. And so it ends up being less noisy. But in reality, when you're inside a small circuit area, your source impedance is going to be a lot lower than your load impedance. And as long as your source impedance is lower than your load impedance, then you're fine. It's going to be okay. You don't really have to worry about matching them. And so that is the case in almost all of this. Almost all microphone inputs into like the op amp or something like that are going to be in the lowest case, it's going to be like 100 ohms, and in the highest case, it's going to be tens of megohms into the op amp itself. And so what the circuit designer will do is they'll put a load resistor in front of that to lower that, so that you actually start drawing more power from the source to get that improvement on noise that I was just talking about. The way I design it, I usually have a 10 kilo ohm load, and then my source is like 100 ohms, right? So, and that's a series resistor with the source, and that's just there as kind of short circuit prevention. Usually the amplifier output is even lower impedance than that, like, ones of ohms or tens of ohms. And so I put 100 ohm in series with it, so that if it gets short circuited to ground, you're not blowing out the transmitter on the amplifier side. But that means you got 100 ohm source impedance there. And if you load it on the receive side with like 600 ohms is what the specification says, 600 ohm and 100 ohms, you'll get a little bit of a voltage drop there, but it's not that bad. If you put a 1K ohm or a 10K ohm load on that, you'll end up with a slightly louder signal, but you might get some more noise on it. And so it's kind of a trade-off there. But as far as the amplifier, the receive amplifier on this side is concerned, it's megohm, right? So it's way higher impedance. So a megohm in parallel with your, 1K ohm load resistor in front of it is basically not going to make a dent in the voltage that's sent through. So impedance matching is, what I'm trying to say is that impedance matching isn't nearly as important when your transmitter is a super low impedance, like the output of a amplifier, and your load is a super high impedance, like the input to an amplifier is.
Yeah, that sounds.
So what you are then worried about more than anything is the voltage levels, and so that's when you're looking at dBV, dB volts. And that's why a lot of microphone elements are spec'd in. They're actually usually spec'd as dB milliwatts into a 600 ohm load. But because your load is fixed and the power input, that can be easily turned into a voltage. And in most cases, the source is basically, however much current you need is fine. We got it. You're not going to draw as much current as we're capable of providing, so you could go a much lower on the load impedance, and it just wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's excellent answer. I think that answers a few questions for some of my projects as well, for creating some crossover cables for different headsets and different radios. And as you say, for the Open Headset Interconnect, this signal is traveling on a twisted pair inside the shield, so it shouldn't pick up too much noise. I think that would be strange. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it still works pretty good even if you don't have shielded Ethernet. But the standard does specify shielded Ethernet.
There's a question here from Jeff about the headphones here, Mark. Just I see that we're getting close to the hour, but we're probably going to go a little bit over today. I got a feeling that
getting me to shut up is the hard part. So, Jeff, to answer your question, the standard specifies headphone level audio. Right. And yes, it is. I do specify precise levels, but that's kind of hard to put your finger on because headphones have such a wide range of load impedances. And, but again, it's the voltage output that is usually, and sensitivities is the other problem. And so you end up with the way you drive headphones is by having an output amplifier, like the headphone amplifier, that is capable of providing a whole lot of voltage and capable of providing a whole lot of current. And usually you only need to provide one or the other at any given time, depending on the impedance of your headphones. If you've got 8 ohm headphones, which is a very low impedance for headphones, then all of the power you're going to provide will be in the form of current. It'll be a relatively low voltage and a lot of current. If you've got high impedance headphones, like a 300 ohm Sennheiser 600 series or something along those lines, right? Like those are 300 ohms, 8 ohms versus 300 ohms. That is a very different load. And the distinction is to provide the same amount of power, you need to increase your voltage and decrease your current. Increase your voltage and the current is automatically decreased because the load is such a high impedance. And so really what it comes down to is you need an amplifier that can either provide a lot of voltage or a lot of current, but generally not both at the same time. And so makers of headphone amplifiers kind of know this. But it's difficult to describe that in a standard of it needs to be this many volts and this much blah 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 blah. I just say headphone standard or headphone. You need to be capable of driving typical headphones, and if you're designing a headphone amplifier, you kind of know what that means.
Yep, that pretty much answers it.
Yep. Speaking about the Bluetooth headset. Is there any plans for Bluetooth operability here?
So OHIS itself is a physical standard defining analog signals going over a cable. What's on either side of that interface is totally up to the hardware designer that is using that interface, right? It is possible to make a device that is an OHIS, excuse me, it looks like an OHIS headset on this side, but instead of plugging into a physical headset, it has a Bluetooth connection up to a Bluetooth headset.
Yep.
It is possible to do that. Or on the other side of it, it is an OHIS radio device on this side, and then it looks like a headset to your computer or your radio or whatever it is on that side. Those can actually absolutely be built. I have not bothered with that because I personally hate Bluetooth. It is so latent. You either have latency or crummy audio quality, or both in some cases, right? Like I personally very much prefer wired signals. So I have never gotten around to trying to design a Bluetooth interface for this sort of thing. There's nothing stopping anyone from doing that though. But it's not part of the OHIS standard itself. Right.
Okay.
The standard defines the interface between these devices. It does not say anything about what those devices are or how they're designed or what they connect to on the other side. That is entirely dependent on the requirements in that case.
But I think there are dual purpose chipsets for wireless audio transfer that does Bluetooth and some other lower latency protocol things. So basically it should be possible to create a wireless headset. Or just not using Bluetooth, just using one of the other proprietary protocols.
There are modes for that. I mean, in-ear monitoring on stage, but none of those use Bluetooth, and that's exactly because of the latency and the sound quality.
And probably the fact that it wouldn't be smart to put stage monitoring on 2.4 gigahertz.
No, not at all.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Just to go on a little tangent, Behringer and Midas makes the X and MR, the M Air series and the X Air series iPad mixers, which is fine. It works off of a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection between the mixer, which is just a black box with connectors, and an iPad or a computer. That usually works fine during sound check. I can tell from experience that does not work fine when you fill the room with 1,000 people.
1,000 people, everyone with their own phone.
That makes the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, let's say, crowded.
Yes.
And there are ways around that, but the way it's designed from Behringer's side is not good. And thank you, Rasmus, for becoming a member. Just a quick question: does anyone have a picture of the key that Jürgen is giving away? I've been looking through Discord and I can't find it there.
It's in last week's stream, so that gives you, if you haven't seen it, that gives you an opportunity to watch last week's stream.
Yeah, right now for an hour.
I
But
want to add one thing to the Bluetooth
Let me
discussion
try
briefly.
to find it in the background. You continue talking. I try to find the picture.
I
Right?
found it already.
So what I just described with Bluetooth is definitely possible, but in my opinion, not a great idea. What is a great idea and is something I will be working on is doing the same thing, but with USB. So you can make a user adapter that looks like a headset, but is actually a USB sound card interface to a computer. And that would be a good way of like hooking up your computer to your radio for digital modes, for example. Similarly, you can make a USB adapter on the radio side that makes your computer look like a radio. So the stereo audio out from your computer goes into your OHIS headset, and the microphone from your OHIS headset goes into your computer. Like those are devices that absolutely do make sense.
That would create some sort of world domination, I think. That if you could get everyone to use that for everything, that would be fantastic.
So some of my products I have created. This is not standards product. This is not part of the standards. This is my commercial products. One of the products I've made is called a contesting console. It's a device that have 2 user inputs and 1 radio input. So 2 users can both hear the radio. They have an intercom so they can talk to each other. They can each set the volumes of the radio and the intercom individually. And then whichever user presses their PTT, their microphone audio gets sent up to the radio. So think of it like a casual field day event where you've got an operator and a logger. They both want to be able to hear the radio. They want to be able to talk to each other about what was that call sign? And those kinds of things. And then one user presses their microphone, their PTT, their microphone audio gets sent up to the radio, but the other user's microphone does not. And so they can still be talking to the operator without their microphone audio getting sent out to the radio.
Awesome. And thank you so much for the way too short talk about OHIS, Mark. We should have learned the last time you were on.
Getting me to shut up is the hard part. I think I've made that clear.
This is I really, really miss nerding out hardcore. So sometimes we just end up talking about not so technical stuff, and I really enjoyed this. So I think we're gonna have to find some excuse to get you back on
anytime
again, sometimes in the new year. I think.
Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. And let's go on to the key. I'm gonna put that up on screen. So if you haven't put #CW key as it's posted down below in the ticker, this is the key that Jürgen is giving away.
Yeah. And
that's pretty.
As Jürgen mentioned, it's not a key; it's a pedal.
Yeah, it's a. I don't do beeps and dashes and dots and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have
It's mostly
levers. Well,
to me, everything is a key.
It is. It looks like amazing craftsmanship though, and handiwork. So, just as a display piece, that would look amazing. But hopefully, it goes to somebody that's actually going to use it and enjoy it on the air.
Yep, and Jürgen has provided some info. The winner should send him an email at the address up on screen now. you can always rewind after you potentially win this. So I'm going to give it another, let's say, 2 minutes to put in the hashtag CW key in the chat, and we're going to do the drawing. And I haven't looked at the giveaway to all shows. Let's put that up on the screen and see how many people have entered.
Yeah, to me that looks like an induction coil, something like you would put some cable into or tube into induction heat it.
Oh, like an induction forge.
Yeah, maybe if you wire it wrongly.
We have 21 entries, so yeah, we're getting there, and that should amount to about almost 2/3 of the audience today. So that's pretty good.
To be fair, I think the European Ham Radio Show might have entered. So.
Yeah, in that case, we're just going to ham it forward and do the drawing again.
Yeah,
and if you win, you have to be present in the chat at the moment. That's the first condition. The second condition is if you don't want it, we can do another drawing. So just ham it forward so you don't get anything that you don't want.
Yeah, I can see in the chat here, Ravi New Farm or Lima Bravo 8 Victor Alpha. He said we should meet up at something called Veil. And if you go to our Discord and to the Deeps and Dashes channel, there's a link there to some sort of fancy internet Morse code trainer where you can sit together and practice Morse code without going on air, which could be handy if you're operating mainly portable or something like that. So. Yep, have a look at it. And really nice of people in the community to share stuff like that.
And while we wait, Lee's got a question for you there, Mark.
Well, Mark, would 2 eggnogs, VHF and UHF, work for ham satellites? Yes. So, eggnogs is a kit that I sell that is a kit to help you build an egg beater antenna. And the way the egg beater antenna is designed, it's inherently monoband. So if you want to be able to operate on VHF and UHF, most of the ham satellites are on VHF and UHF. It's going to be uplink on one and downlink on the other, or vice versa, right? They're different satellites, uplink and downlink on different bands. And the eggnogs is transmit capable. I have not personally verified that how much power it can do. I know it can do about 20 watts continuously with a continuous FM carrier for 3 minutes, and it gets warm, but not dangerously warm. My goal is for it to be able to handle 50 watts at a 50% duty cycle. And I have not actually been able to verify that that is capable yet, but I think it should be. So anyway, the point is that you should be able to use it to operate satellites. Now, I will warn you that it'll be great for things like the ISS, which has a nice, strong transmitter, but a lot of the CubeSats that have been going up have very low power output and the low gain of an egg beater antenna in general, not just eggnogs, but the low gain of an egg beater antenna makes receiving those satellites pretty difficult. But as long as you're trying to work a relatively high power output satellite, eggnogs is right there and they'll work great.
Awesome. And I think we're going to go to the drawing right now. Let's see if I can actually manage to put it up on screen again, because StreamYard is so user-friendly. Let's go ahead and see who wins this beautiful set of paddles. It's not a key, they are paddles. I've learned that now. John M. And John, you got to send an email to Jürgen, and let me see if I can find the address here. It's oe4jhw@oevsv.at.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Jürgen, for donating that for the show.
Thank you, Jürgen. Yeah. You're a great supporter of the show, and thank you so much for doing that. And I don't think this is not the first time Jürgen has given something away, is it?
Nope. So nice to have such a giving community around here. That's absolutely appreciated. And that's part of this community, both giving away stuff like this and sharing open source design or sharing your time like you're doing here, Mark, like coming on and talking. That's amazing.
Oh, man. I love nerding out. Ask me on anytime. I'll be here.
We will.
I'll make sure to take you up on that. That's
don't you worry.
guaranteed. Yeah.
I mean, have you listened to my podcast?
And I was going to say that if you haven't heard Mark nerding out, you should check out Ham Radio Workbench, which is my favorite ham radio podcast. And I wish you'd do episode every week, Mark, because I usually, after 3 days, I spend 10 days waiting for the next episode.
Yeah, it takes you about 3 days to listen to it any given episode, but
Yep.
yeah. Thank you. It means a lot to us. I've been jonesing to get back on because I haven't been on for the last few episodes. Just my schedule hasn't worked out. I've been traveling or whatever, and so yeah. No, James, no news on SOAR.
I wasn't even going to bring that up now.
I appreciate that.
And speaking about the ham radio Workbench,
It's funny seeing when we have a topic where everybody is excited how the audio level of everybody goes up. Yeah. So at the beginning of the stream, Morten, you said I'm 6 dB too low or 12 dB too low, and no, I'm not. It's the same setup as every week. Yeah. It's just leveling out when all the guests get excited and have a bit of oomph. Then
and speaking about next week, we're and Ham Radio Workbench. We're having George on, and I need to check the cheat sheet here because we've booked George for a couple of different topics. So he's on to talk about we have a Sunday missing in our schedule. So George is on December 8th. So next week we'll figure something out.
It will be a Sunday next week as well.
I mean, I'm available.
Sure.
Nice. Between now and then,
if you're available, Mark, you're definitely welcome to come on, and we'll just do.
Pretty sure we can fill an hour of just interesting technical conversations easily. So
we can do that. I'll make a pretty nondescript generic topic for next week's stream, but with Mark.
Space filling with Mark Smith.
Yep. Yeah. Tangents with Mark Smith.
Yep.
We're good. So next week,
I have a topic maybe for next week. Have you heard about long chat?
It's closed source, and that means for me case closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's let that
but
one
it's
mature
chip based, so it I think in terms of reach, it would be probably an interesting mode. Yeah.
Oh, and this is probably if I'm not banned from the VAR AC community yet or using VAR AC, because the developer tends to ban people from the protocol that tends to argue against them. This might become just another VAR AC, a closed source, semi-popular standard. If someone would open source it, it'd be great.
Yeah, that was my.
Anyway, we have not even talked about it, but you seem to know everything about it already. So suggestion was we have a chat about it next week. But yeah, if everybody already knows everything about it, then never mind. It was just an idea.
Bonnet wants us to talk about the 8-meter ban. We could probably talk about it, but I don't think a lot of people outside Ireland has actually used it.
No, we can't talk on it, but we can talk about it.
We can talk about it. We have
40 megahertz.
Yeah,
it
so
should be about 40 megahertz.
It's them and Spain, I believe, or some other Spain or France, something like that. So there's some traffic going on there on Digimodes, but I think it's opened earlier this year, mostly. So
it's right up there with talking about the 220 band, I assume.
Yeah.
About like that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All the RC pilots will love you when you go online on the 8-meter band, at least here in in Germany. Yeah, that's the number one band for remote controlled planes and so on.
But I'm thinking the 8-meter band is it's more limited than the 4-meter band. But at the 4-meter band, more countries, but not a unified band plan. So I don't know. Apparently, Italy has 8 meters as well.
My first homebrew transmitter was a 3-meter transmitter. So,
on purpose or?
Oh, very much on purpose.
All right, yeah.
3 meters, yeah.
3 meters.
That should be right up there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I just
Yep.
got that one.
Do the math.
Oh,
I'm just
slow today.
saying, the school bus driver was very surprised about the music he suddenly heard in his radio.
And on that tangent, we'll have Mark back next week. Thank you guys for watching. Congratulations to John, I think it was, who won the set of pals. Not a key, a set of pals. I'll try to remember that. And I'm actually starting CW. I'm not starting. I'll be participating in a CW class come January. So perhaps I'll know the difference then. 7-3, guys. See you next week.
7-3.
Bye-bye. That was chaotic
Be good
and
humans.
fun.
Be good humans.